Hey everybody, so the movie 4-Year-Old Version was just recently added to Netflix about a week ago. I really enjoyed this film, and this review is going to contain some spoilers, so if you don't like spoilers, please leave the video now. So this film centers Radha Blank, who is about to turn 40 and is going through a stagnant stage in her journey as a playwright. It's been about 10 years since she was placed on the 30 under 30 list for playwrights to look out for, and she's also grieving the recent loss of her mother. In order to make ends meet, she teaches theater for a select group of students at Harlem High. Her longtime best friend Archie works as her agent and has been trying to get someone to produce her play, which has been a constant struggle. After an altercation and somewhat fight with a prospective producer for a play that she wrote, she realizes that rapping is the perfect coping mechanism for some of the stress that she is dealing with throughout this movie. And so basically throughout this film, she's on a journey to find herself and spends time figuring out how to express herself the way she wants as she adjusts into a new decade of her life. And just to give some background, Radha Blank wrote, directed, and produced this film. This film was also produced by Lena Waithe along with others. This film also received a U.S. Dramatic Competition Directing Award at the Sundance Film Festival. So some of the things that I loved about this movie, I love the fact that they focus on a Black woman who wanted to start a semi-new creative activity which helped her cope with the stress that was affecting her life. I believe she did some b-boxing in high school. After the fight that she had with the producer, she started rhyming and was completely set on making a mixtape. When people usually think about someone pursuing a rap career, they usually allude to the idea that this someone should be a young male. And if we're not focused on gender, we're really focused on the fact that someone who's starting a rap career or a mixtape or something like that should be young. We don't usually allow for new creative activities to be a thing after the age of 30, at least creative activities where you plan on making a big project and being well known for. And people reacted to her when she stated that she wanted to make a mixtape and she wanted to get into rapping, especially her agent/friend who acted like she was having a midlife crisis and that this activity was overall immature. It was especially important that they focused in on Blank achieving a 30 under 30 award and how that irony ties into the fact that we don't usually care about these highly achieved people after they reach the age of 30. Heck, we don't even celebrate people who achieve very high achieving projects after the age of 30. There's no award for someone achieving anything after 30. Focusing in on this award identifies the ageism and toxic productivity culture that society emphasizes on when it comes to celebrated achievements, and I thought the film did that pretty well. Another focal point that this film did a really good job highlighting was the fact that Blank was creating art, which in this case was a play called Harlem Ab, just to appease the people who worked for her. They were supposed to be working for her, but Blank wanted to keep the peace and also wanted to do something with her life, so she decided to just go with everything, and it made her unhappy. In reality, most of the people that worked for her, except her friend Archie, I would say, really just wanted a diversity trophy, which I thought was a unique additive to the current stereotype of the white rich liberal on film or in shows or on TV, especially when we're talking about the East Coast or rich, affluent East Coast cities like New York City. She wanted to appease her best friend/agent, Archie, who stuck up for her, the jerk producer who patronized her in the beginning of the movie, the white woman director who she did not want. She wanted actually a Black woman director. So she appeased everyone but herself because she thought it was something she needed, and she didn't know when another opportunity would come her way due to her age and her lack of strong leads prior. She originally wanted to do a play on gentrification in Harlem, and instead it became a play on gentrification in Harlem that was suitable and palatable for white audiences, and that was very cringy to her. I also really liked how they portrayed her response to grief. She procrastinated going to her mother's old apartment to collect the last of her belongings and especially her artwork. So I really loved how they were showing her ignore her brother's phone calls. You heard the voicemails, but she didn't respond to them. And you didn't really see much emotion on her end, but you knew that she was going through a really hard time. We didn't see her engage with her brother until the very end of the movie, where she met up with him at her mother's apartment to discuss a piece of art that was created by her mother. They were discussing on what they were going to do with the art, and that was when Blank stated something that was actually pretty powerful, that her mom created something that was going to go into a storage facility. I don't think those were the exact words, but it did have some very deep meaning to me, because it just made her think of the things that she is going to leave behind, Blank, the character, when she passes, and what will ultimately happen to the things she leaves behind. It was just something that was very thoughtful, or thought-provoking, I should say. And Blank used her mother's life to identify some of the struggles that she, Blank the character, is currently going through today. She was able to relate to some of her mom's past events, some of the struggles like living outside her car and all of that, and just her struggle with being a creative. And I think that's something very important to include when we are talking about grief. A lot of times when we lose someone very close to us, we tend to look back at their lives and relate a lot to some of the events that have occurred in that loved one's life. And I also really loved how realistic this film was. Now, Blank did use her actual life to create this film. All of the photos that we were seeing throughout this film, the artwork that her mother created was actually the artwork that her mom really created. A lot of times when somebody directs a film and they base it on their life, it's extremely obvious, and there's always this, hey, look, this is my real life kind of attitude, or I guess I should say tone throughout a movie, and I didn't really feel that when I was watching this. There were also no obvious happy endings. She bombed her rap performance at the club. She hated her play and announced it on the opening night when she had an opportunity to speak. Will she make a mixtape? Who knows? But she made mistakes, and there were uncertainties even after this movie was finished. We don't really know what's going to happen with the rest of her life. It's not just set in a happy ending and the end. The real satisfaction that the audience was supposed to gain was the fact that she accepted her life and learned what she really wanted from herself right as she approached the age of 40. And again, we don't know if she's going to make a mixtape or if she's going to make another play, but we do know what she learned and what she's going to take from that learning experience. Hopefully, she may not, but that was what we were supposed to understand at the end of this movie, and she gained that piece. The cinematography was nice. I do like that it was black and white. Of course, I love a movie in Harlem. Who doesn't love a movie in Harlem? It was a little predictable with some of the cinematography effects, I guess I should say. You can definitely tell there was a lot of inspiration from Spike Lee, but I still loved it. I also really liked the students. I thought they were actually really funny. The students at Harlem High. It seemed like they were paying homage to Sister Act 2, the way they were kind of calling her Miss B and stuff like that. And I think there seemed to be some kind of crush type thing going on, or romance kind of thing going on between the non-binary student and the young girl that was a student as well, who left the class and came back into the class. But they didn't really put any more emphasis on it. They just kind of showed them looking at each other in a way, and that was it. It would have been nice to give them more of a, I guess, storyline. It would have been cute. The film was a little long. It could have been a little condensed in some of the scenes. However, this film was great. I do recommend watching this film. Definitely have some time to watch it because it's not short, but it's very enjoyable and definitely something you can watch during our kind of hectic situation here. It gives you a couple laughs here and there, and it's also very good for people who are navigating their lives, especially reaching a milestone like 30 or 40. And yeah, check it out.